Tonight on this May 2nd edition of Elon Local News.
Classroom confusion. Students at Elon feel left behind in math courses after years of virtual learning.
Plus, sites on streaming. As major media companies show stalls in their streaming platforms, I talked with those in the industry on its future.
And shakeup in sports. For the third consecutive week, headliners leave the Phoenix and the CAA for other opportunities. What this means for Elon athletics ahead.
Those and other local late-breaking stories.
Elon Local News starts now.
Live from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications, you're watching Elon Local News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Annemarie Bonner.
And I'm Naomi Washington. Our top story tonight, an Elon alum is headed to the NFL.
Former Phoenix quarterback Davis Cheek has become the 17th Elon player to be offered a chance to join the NFL. He was signed as an undrafted free agent by his home team, the Carolina Panthers, earning him the chance to fight for a spot on the team's roster. This afternoon from Jupiter, Florida, where Cheek spent draft weekend, he spoke with ENN about the experience.
It was just kind of a crazy day. Like, it was just a lot of anxiousness, a lot of, you don't know what's going on, and it's pretty stressful, to be honest with you. You're hoping for good situations. You're hoping for calls. You're hoping for people being like, "Hey, we want you on our team." And then finally, the Panthers, they reached out. I knew I was most likely not going to be drafted. It might have been able to something happened in one of the late rounds going up in Charlotte. You always you want to play for them, and you always have your eye on them, but you just think, hey, there's no way. And especially, they ended up picking up a quarterback in the draft. And so I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know, like, if this might not work out or whatever. But the way that things just shook out is that it ended up being kind of the perfect place. What I'm going to do, I'm just excited that I get an opportunity, because at the end of the day, that not a lot of people get the opportunity. This process can make or break you. The draft process is crazy. It can make or break you there. And you just got to do the best you can. That's really all you can do. But I still think that I have enough ability and I can showcase enough to be able to say, hey, this kid's got some potential, let's keep him around. That's the main thing from day one I want to do. I feel like I did everything I could have done at the school, and I was ready to start getting into this process. This is what I was just working for a long time. I really appreciate everyone reaching out, saying things either on social media or text or anything. I know it's definitely gets crazy, so it's hard to respond and give that personal gratitude to every single person. But more than anything, I really appreciate Elon making me as a whole entity, from the staff to the people to everything, just making me know who I am.
Cheek will report to rookie minicamp next week to start his journey to the roster cut.
A new superintendent has been named for the Alamance-Burlington school system. Today, the board approved Alamance County native Dane Butler to take the role on July 1st. Butler has served as superintendent of schools for 5 years in Roanoke Rapids, 2 hours northeast of Elon. He resigned in September 2021 and received a severance of over $150,000. He has a doctorate in educational leadership from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. As the story continues to develop, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
College students nationwide are seeing the long-term effects of virtual learning in their test scores. Many students who ended high school virtually now report feeling behind in the classroom. An April study found that students across the globe are 8 months behind where they would have been without the pandemic. I talked with Elon's Director of Learning Assistance and a student tutor to learn more on the problems that are affecting students on campus.
I feel like the amount of students who feel hopeless will just increase over the next couple of years as students recognize this learning loss.
Sophomore Danielle Da Silva is a calculus tutor. She says she sees a large effect on students' learning in her appointments alone.
Getting back into the habit of having to study, of not always having your notes with you, is something that a lot of people have really struggled with.
Elon's Director of Learning Assistance, James Holsinger, says he's worried supply might not meet demand.
I always fear that. It doesn't usually or almost never happen for us, but it could. And we keep track at the end of the semester, or at the end of academic year, we always look very closely to see what were our courses that we had the highest usage in. What is our, how many tutors we have employed coming into the next year to meet that.
Students K through 5 testing in 2021 compared to 2019 were about 9 points behind in reading and 10 points behind in math. That's equivalent to being 5 months behind by the end of the school year. By the time they get to high school, experts worry they will be less likely to graduate on time. Similarly, North Carolina's Department of Public Instruction reported a negative impact on test scores for almost all subjects over the same periods of time. De Silva says because of these struggles, her tutoring schedule is fully booked.
It's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, the tutoring supervisors do a good job of reminding us that it's not our job to ensure that a student does well, it's simply our job to help them.
Holsinger and De Silva agree that tutoring is a way you can help refresh your memory and relearn material. If you are struggling with the class and are feeling the impact of the pandemic on your learning, you can meet with a tutor by going to the Coensberger Learning Center website.
It's officially May and over 1,700 students have committed to Elon following National College Decision Day, the deadline for high school seniors to secure their place in the class of 2026 at colleges nationwide. The largest group of students remain undecided on their intended major, but the top 5 choices of study are psychology, finance, biology, business analytics, and exercise science. 19% identify as students of color. 58% of the class is female and 42% are male, on par with Elon's traditional gender gap. The top 5 states students draw from are North Carolina, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, and Virginia, respectively. And Annemarie, I cannot wait to welcome all these new students from the class of 26.
I know, I can't wait to see them on campus in the fall, and I heard that even the number 10 major is journalism, so I'm sure I'm looking forward to the fall and getting those fresh faces in our newsroom.
Yeah, we look forward to having some new students, and we hope will join us in our organization. Americans on average have 5 streaming services and pay nearly $50 a month. But as top companies like Netflix report major losses and newer platforms like CNN Plus pulled the plug just 1 month after its launch, what does it mean for students interested in the industry? I spoke to a few people who have experience. Households across the country are continuing to buy into streaming services. In 2021, the global streaming market was valued at almost $60 billion. But now, Netflix, for example, announced the loss of 200,000 subscribers so far this year and expects to lose another 2 million this quarter. Elon professor Max Nagin teaches cinema and television arts and does freelance media creation. Despite some of the negative news around streaming services this week, Nagin says it's still the future.
It's the natural thing that no one can stay on top forever. You can't. There's not a limitless number of people who are going to subscribe to your service. So it makes sense that they're going to have a downward moment in their history. But it's also just one company. There's a lot of opportunities.
Nagin says the job market is simply unpredictable.
It's just a matter of working your connections, having a good portfolio, having a good professional social media presence. And it's a game of failure, unfortunately. When I talk to students who graduate and look for jobs, in some cases it's 100 applications to find one job.
Elon alumna Alex Rote works at Discovery Plus in Tennessee. While at Elon, she was a director for our newscast at ENN. Rote says companies like hers are looking for people under the age of 25, the target audience for streaming services.
Being young and wanting to sort of enter the streaming world is definitely an advantage, but I think it's also extremely difficult. I think just because the reality of this is that there are a lot of things that are shifting.
One of those shifts is hiring college students to reach more consumers. Elon Jr. Miracle Smith was a campus representative for HBO Max last semester. She says working there was a good way to make connections with the company.
I definitely knew that there was going to be a lot of benefit from working this role as someone who is in the industry and needs to keep up with the trades.
Over 50% of streaming service users are under 35, paving the way for what Rote and Smith see as the growth of the industry's future. To read more on this story, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
Today marks the first full week of early voting here in North Carolina. Races on the ballot this year include the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives, the NC General Assembly, the NC Supreme Court, and Court of Appeals. Additionally, many municipal elections are on the ballot due to rescheduling. Voter Barbara Mance cast her vote at the Coronado Senior Center today. She says she always votes early, and the issues that concern her this year are government spending and what that means for the next generation.
Voting is your voice. It is your ability to have an impact. And if we stop voting, we have no voice.
Early voting ends on May 14th. The statewide primary is set for May 17th. If you're registered to vote in the area and want to know your polling place, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com, and check out our voter's guide.
Inflation is an issue on the mind of candidates and voters. For the 5th consecutive month, it's at its highest point in over 40 years. Grocery prices, rent, and gas hikes have taken the national spotlight, but inflation continues to leave its ink on local businesses. Molly Haggerty has the story.
Inferno Ink Tattoo in Burlington is abuzz with the sound of vibrating needles on a typical day. But for artist Jordan Goldston, economic inflation has made business a little less than typical lately. Prices have gone up, and Goldston says that's trickled down to his rates and his customers.
It comes person to person, you know. Everyone's seen that TikTok now, you know, the funny one there. It's like, I'm not expensive, you just broke. And it's like, I don't fully believe that, but we all have our price tiers, you know.
Almost exactly a year ago today, this tattoo cost $80. Today, the same tattoo would run you $120 at Inferno Ink due to inflation. But prices are up everywhere, not just for a little ink under the skin. Financial expert Ryan Haggerty says the economy is in a tough spot right now, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck.
Well, with prices up 8% across the board in gas, whatever it might be, food, you know, I'm already behind the 8 ball there. So you got to figure out a way to support yourself, your family, whatever it might be.
However, paying for the basic necessities has made some people thinking about a tattoo, like Clare Grider, reconsider.
In this economy, knowing that I'll have money in the future is not a luxury that I have at the moment.
Even if customers are a little more careful with their wallets, Goldston says Inferno Ink has been doing just fine. Reporting for the news, I'm Molly Haggerty.
Goldston is currently booking out appointments through the end of July.
While the COVID-19 pandemic spread over the last 2 years, another epidemic was spreading nationwide. Here in North Carolina, over 9 people died of a drug overdose each day in 2020, according to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Carolyn Carter, Clinical Director of Residential Treatment Services of Alamance, says she's seen the same trend in Alamance County.
It's not uncommon during our intake and assessment period where we've encountered where they may have had up to 13 to 15 overdoses.
Carter says although many overdose survivors do not believe they have been doing fentanyl, it's likely that the drugs are being laced.
When we test and there's no heroin in the system, but it's fentanyl, you know, you can actually tell the shock on their face and then the fear that they've actually been doing fentanyl. And so 9 times out of 10, you know, our drug screen will show the fentanyl. And that's what's rampant here.
Carter believes Alamance County may be subject to this because of the proximity to the interstate. To read more about the crisis, pick up a copy of this week's Pendulum.
Drinking water is a common practice, but you may not realize how much goes into filtering it. TZ Osborne Waste Facility is one of many companies that work to purify water in the Triad. Annemarie and Juliet Kahn looked into the process and how wastewater affects the residents.
This is wastewater. It comes from factories. It comes from your homes. And the putrid smell throughout this facility sticks to the air.
Every day, millions of gallons of water pass through these pipes at the TZ Osborne Wastewater Treatment Facility. The idea is to purify the water as much as possible before it's sent downstream. But despite their best efforts, high levels of chemicals can still be found. Chemicals like 1,4-dioxane.
The toxin originated from the Lanxess Chemicals Company. Currently, the EPA can only suggest how much companies can release. According to TZ Osborne's manager, Elijah Williams, North Carolina caps 1,4-dioxane at 35 micrograms per liter. Lanxess's release exceeded this by almost double that limit. But 1,4-dioxane doesn't just come from factory byproducts. Williams points out just how common this chemical is.
One of the things I found out is that the body wash that I use as far as had 1,4-dioxane in it. So I made a personal decision to stop using that body wash and to go back to good old-fashioned soap.
One of the most impacted communities is Pittsboro, North Carolina. For residents, this is an all too familiar story. This is now the 4th time since 2019 that 1,4-dioxane was found in the town's water source, the Haw River.
Well, to say the least, it very much upsets me. Pittsboro doesn't have the best water to begin with. Most people don't, like I said, they just don't trust the water around here to begin with. We try not even to feed our dogs it.
Since EPA regulations haven't stopped these companies from going over the limit, the state government is taking action. North Carolina's Department of Environmental Quality plans to lower the threshold to 31.5 micrograms per liter starting May 1st. And in 2023, they plan to lower it further to 23 micrograms per liter. Even with these changes and increased monitoring, there is no guarantee that companies will comply. So when federal restrictions don't make a difference, the local community steps up.
Just get out here, and we need more people out here cleaning up the river. By doing it my own way through the relic hunting, like I said, more people think that whenever I say, oh, I go metal detecting, oh, so you dig up gold rings and coins or anything like that. No, I find trash cans and old pieces of like rusted up trucks in the river, and I haul them out and throw them out.
Annemarie, Elon Local News.
For more information, visit nc1water.org. Well, 22 minutes after the hour now, and our Brett Turnbull joins us live under the Oaks for a look at our weather ahead.
Brett, good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you both. The weather was a bit extreme today with some hot temperatures reaching around 80 degrees this morning. But as we get later into the day today, it still hangs around that 80-degree mark, but with some partial cloudiness that's helping it out a little bit. Temperatures will head into around 60 degrees tonight, making it a bit more comfortable as well. The warm weather we experience today will be following us into tomorrow as the temperatures reach up to 86 degrees with only partial cloudiness accompanying it. This cloudiness may cause for some stray showers in the middle part of our day, so keep that in mind as you take in the beautiful weather. The sun may be going away as we head later into this week, but temperatures will continue to stay warm even as thunderstorms hit our campus starting Wednesday. These storms will remain with us throughout the latter half of this week and into this weekend, causing for a slight drop in temperature. Thursday will still reach up to about 81 degrees though. Meanwhile, Friday and Saturday will hang around that mid to high 70s range. That's all for your Phoenix 5-day forecast. I'm Brett Turnbull. Now back to Annemarie and Naomi in the studio.
Brett Turnbull live under the Oaks for us this evening. Brett, thank you so much.
As the end of the year approaches, the Elon community prepares to say goodbye to 16 faculty members who plan to retire. Among those is political science professor Laura Roselle. Roselle has been at Elon for 29 years. She says her favorite thing about the job has been mentoring students during their undergraduate research.
And I especially love seeing them do things they never thought they could do. So they might start and say, oh my gosh, this seems really daunting. How am I possibly going to do original research? I can't do that. And I love showing them that they can and seeing them at the end say, you know what, I can do this.
Across campus in Arts West, Professor Ann Simpkins is retiring after 28 years. She was originally the second professor hired in the art department. She has loved watching the passions for art grow and being inspired by her students.
The idea of coming up with things for people to respond to in assignments is really fun and creative, and you can be different every time, and you can reuse it and it'll be totally different the next time you try it.
Both Roselle and Simpkins say they are excited to find their next passion in retirement.
For the third consecutive week, key elements leave Phoenix men's basketball and the CAA for other opportunities. Junior Hunter McIntosh is the latest to announce his exit from the Phoenix. McIntosh is transferring to the University of Nevada. This after he received the CAA Conference Team Player and Athlete of the Year awards while at Elon. McIntosh declined ENN's request for comment. McIntosh joins Hunter Woods, Michael Graham, and Darius Burford as former Phoenix who have found new homes for next season. Former assistant coach Alan Payne also announced his move to Georgia State University in the Sun Belt Conference, taking up an assistant coaching position there. Payne joined Elon in 2019 with Coach Schrage. Zach Irvin and Gerald Gillens-Bufford have withdrawn their names from the portal, leaving potential guard transfer Ben Dougherty as the remaining Phoenix in the transfer portal.
Elon women's tennis won its first 2 matches in the Colonial Athletic Association's championship tournament on campus this weekend. The tournament wins were a first for the program, although the team fell short to William & Mary in the finals. Junior Seibel Tank says its effort in the match.
We had a little saying called nothing left, as in like have everything out of the tank, like nothing left literally, and I think we fulfilled that.
Head coach Elizabeth Anderson says she is proud of the team for making it to the final match.
I couldn't be prouder of them, and they've done so much, and to make history here, sometimes you have to get there, get close before breaking through the championship. So it's our goal for future.
Coach Anderson says the team hopes to make it farther in the tournament next year and is looking forward to preseason preparation this summer.
This year has been full of important moments in sports, from JMU's exit from the CAA, the men's basketball team change in leadership, and much more. Tomorrow night, check out our sports Twitter page at SportsENN, as well as our YouTube page and website, as our sports team talks about the dynamics of athletics on campus and a whole lot more.
Well, I'm really, really excited to see all the great things that happened in sports this year.
I know, I can't wait to watch.
All right, well, that's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
And for all the news you need to know when we're not on the air, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
And be sure to follow us on social media at Elon News Network.
Have a great week, Elon.